The Federal Agriculture Minister, Murray Watt, has pledged $500,000 in support for Indonesia in an effort to control the spread of foot and mouth disease. The minister has ruled out a ban on flights from Indonesia, though, as a way of preventing foot and mouth from entering Australia. Joining us live now is the Shadow Trade and Tourism Minister, Kevin Hogan. Kevin, thanks for your time. So first of all, what do you make of what Murray Watt has pitched so far?
Look, I'm certainly pleased that they're over there and they're helping the Indonesians assist and do what they can to with the outbreak over there on the ground itself. But look, I think there's certainly one thing they should do right now, and I think there's another thing they should look at. I've been speaking to a lot of beef producers over the last week, and they're exceptionally nervous because of the damage of what this would do. So you can do not enough in a situation like this, but you can never do too much. So I think the compulsory decontamination of footwear is a must for all footwear coming back in from the country. And I seriously think they need to look at all arrivals from Bali, especially because the numbers are so big there.
Right, but they're doing that though, aren't they?
The decontamination of footwear, no.
No, not the footwear, but they're checking and advising anyone who comes from Bali, right?
Oh, yeah, look, there's questions. They're asking them, like, where they've been. They're giving precautionary questions about what's going on. But this is about not everyone tells the truth, unfortunately, Carl, because Pete, they want to speed up their process through the line. So we think decontamination of all footwear, Pete, and we also think that they should look at any arrival from Bali especially, but Indonesia, that they maybe spend an extra day or two in a city, because this disease only lives for a day or two. So if you keep them in a city for another day or so, then the disease will be dead, hopefully, by the time they go to a regional area, because this isn't up to an $80 billion problem. So you can never do too much in a situation.
Sure.
Like this.
So do you think, would that be an expense for the traveller, or would the government do that?
Yeah, well, we'd have to look at that. I mean, obviously, maybe the government may assist, or a lot of people who come back obviously live in the city as well. That would have to be negotiated. Right. But the cost of that would be a lot cheaper than the $80 billion cost it could do to our economy. So again, you can never do too much in a situation.
Right. So, and what's the process of just of having a foot bath, basically, of decontaminating your footwear?
Well, look, it's very common. I mean, a lot of us would have had it happen to us. I know I went to New Zealand a couple of years ago. You go there, you declare that your footwear or your shoes or whatever your footwear have been to a farm or near a farm, they take it away and they clean it and they decontaminate it. It's not complicated. It's a bit time consuming, but very common in a lot of airports around the world, indeed the country. Right.
Do you feel like it's inevitable that the disease will get here?
I think that we can stop it, but again, I think that we have to be overcautious. I think that we, in a situation like this, because of the damage that it could do, we go over the top, if you like, in making sure it doesn't come in. There is a lot of nervousness, and the damage it would do to our beef industry will be catastrophic.
There are a few hurdles that it would need to jump through, right? I mean, would you? I mean, explain it for me. So, I mean, someone could. I get that it could be attached to footwear, or it could be attached to clothing for a couple of days. Then it would have to find its way to animals.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, the most common is footwear. So, and the issue with Bali too was, and you don't have to have gone to a farm in Bali either, or Indonesia. Their animals over there are very domesticated. They walk the street. So you could easily pick something up off the street, not be on a farm, so it's on the soles of your footwear. That's the biggest danger. So we need to make sure that that would be the most likely form of transmission.
Let's just close here on a couple of trade deals that have been delayed. There's the UK trade deal, as we know. It's something of a setback there for sure, especially given that Boris Johnson's no longer the PM. The EU trade deal pushed back into next year too. What are your concerns about that, Kevin? I mean, your ex-government would be partly responsible for that, because the French weren't very happy with you.
Well, look, we did a great job with free trade agreements, Pete. We, when we came to government in 2013, I think about 25% of goods that we exported were covered by free trade agreements. By the time we left, it was 85. So the current state is we have two that we want to come in force. We did a free trade agreement with the UK. We did a free trade agreement with India. We want them enforced by the end of the year, because you get a tariff cut this year and then another one on July 1st. The UK one's in a bit of trouble with the Trade Committee over there, the Trade Secretary. I think the Minister needs to get over there and deal and talk with those MPs there. The next one, disappointing news this week. We always thought that the EU free trade agreement with Australia would be completed by the end of this year. The new government has said that as well, but this year they've delayed it by up to 6 months. So that's disappointing, because we want those enforced as quickly as we can.
But I mean, that's the friend. I mean, that was slow to get off the ground, because it was a quid pro quo for the cancelling of the submarine contract. So it's. I mean, are you partly responsible for that?
Well, no, when we were in government, always thought it would still come into force by the end of the year. And if you believe what's happened with the new Prime Minister and the Prime Minister or the Macron in the French, all is forgiven anyway. So I don't think that's the reason. But look, we thought it was going to be done by the end of the year. They said it was going to be done by the end of the year as well. There's a delay with no explanation.
How cold was it in Grafton this morning, Kevin?
Very cold up here, Pete, but the Grafton Cup yesterday, a great day at the Grafton Cup yesterday, Pete, because the last 2 years with COVID has been a bit restricted, so it was a good fun day.
All right, Kevin Hogan there, the Shadow Trade and Tourism Minister. Good to have you, Kevin. We'll talk to you next week.